Let's talk about Super Saiyan Vegeta, okay? This character is defined by his ability to zone, get in, and run away, okay? So he can pretty much play from any space on the screen and threaten pretty much anything he wants to, okay? His main zoning tools include his 2-3 success, which is it's the fastest key blast in the game for full screen. So this, as well as in the air, all right? Typically you'll see this as well as this option. They're both very good as well because, as you can see, it kind of stalls his momentum in the air. So if you're just jumping back doing this, really hard for the opponent to kind of approach you because you're cutting off this angle of the screen right here. So obviously his key blast game is very, very strong. Another thing about his game plan is that he can pretty much get in whenever he wants to because of this asshole. All right, this is the craziest lariat in the game currently, just because it has pretty much no recovery at 36 frames total. So if he just wants to throw this in and get the assist going, there's your offense, okay? If they decide to jump because they don't like the chip damage from his 2-3 success, then something like this will happen, right? And that's a 50-50 that they have to hold. So his mind game pretty much deals with the fact that, hey, if you don't want to deal with this offense, then you're going to get punished for it, okay? And like I said, the main idea here is that his chip damage is so high off of his 2-3 success, like this, that you're typically going to, you know, kind of feint them and be like, oh, I did this, now I did lariat, and now you're in 5M range because guess what? You reflected and you mistimed it, and now I can punish you for it, okay? So that's kind of the main game plan around his neutral. Obviously, like I said, he has the 5S to kind of stall his momentum, and even if he doesn't get the interaction he wants to, if he does something like this, and let's say the assist whiffs or something like that, then he can just go back to neutral and playing the super lame game because, and as many of you know, this is kind of his deal, is that the opponent cannot afford to super dash against him because not only is it a medium starter, but it basically halts any momentum. So if the opponent or you ever show that you can kind of light DP them super dashing, especially like from short ranges, it's going to dissuade them. It's going to force them to play that mind game of, hey, am I going to reflect or not, okay? Not to mention that this move also has really good properties on block because if we set the opponent to 2H, that's the wrong one, then you can see like this, right? That counter hit 2H, right? And that's a universal application, meaning that no one can, they have to play the reflect mind game here of, am I going to do super dash or am I not going to do super dash? And you may be asking like, so what's the difference in him doing that and him just doing like 5S, right? So let's say I do this. Oops, sorry. Oh my god, that's fast. Okay, so let's say this and that, right? That's gonna beat 2H, right? And they're like, okay, well, I know that mind game, so I'm gonna just reflect. You know what I'm saying? Okay, like let's just see what happens if they reflect. Okay, I'm back in neutral. All right, and you're in this position. All right, I'm back in neutral. So if you do something like this, I'm still in there. You know what I'm saying? And he can also feint by just doing this. So his mind games when it comes to the corner are pretty severe if you're not if you're being conditioned correctly, okay? So now that we got that out of the way, his mix in the corner is really good just because he can do like this into assist and get a high low. Like for example, if I do this, that's the low option, high option. You can go for like double overhead, whatever you want to with this character pretty much. So his offense in the corner is pretty chilling just because he can kind of alternate from doing the super dash plus assist mix up or just going for the lariat one, which jails. Mid screen he can just do this with certain assists, so if he does like and he can just do air dash here, which I'm mistiming, but you get the idea, right? So he just does this and do this. Outside of that, he does have this option to kind of go for like a pseudo 50-50 left right where he can kind of choose which side he goes on. But some assists like that will not reach or not have the correct pushback for that. So make sure that your assists allow for that. And if they don't, then honestly, I would just do something like this, where you just have empty jump plus assist, because this is still pretty strong. So yeah, that's pretty much it for mix. Something else I want to talk about with this character is that he is considered a battery, and he's probably the second best at being a battery in the game, period, just because his meter gain currently is much higher than everybody else's off of like common standard system mechanic stuff like DR or like just a regular route. Because if you don't follow my Twitter, I found a new route for him involving his 2-3 success. So it looks something like this. Right, so he can link those two back to back, and then he can go into a follow-up with the JL by using your jump. And he basically gets 2.5 bars and 3.5k damage off of DR, right? That's not to mention that's without, you know, any assist, any tag, stuff like that. So he's eating off of his routes now with the given buffs. He can pretty much confirm from pretty much anywhere. Another thing that's really scary about his neutral is that I talked about his ability to punish the opponent for moving. Especially with like lariat and like this one. But another scary thing is that if you're too passive, and let's say you're just like dash blocking and you incorrectly dash block, like something like this will happen, and he can just link a super dash and he just gets a free confirm. Like his reward is pretty much the highest in the game off of any interaction, especially because this hitting randomly, it's like I have so much time to confirm this. Okay, as well as this one. He can confirm that and keep them standing on the ground, or he can just straight up go into this, which is more damage. Right. Always has super dash. And another thing about the character that's really strong is that he always gets a knockdown, okay? Obviously, if he DPs, then he's not going to get his knockdown, but his DP offers a knockdown, where a lot of other DPs do not offer that, which is unique to him, especially because of his EX. It gives him so much Oki to work with. So his defensive options are really busted because he's a runaway character that's already really good at running away, because he has this to stall him, this to stall him, this to get out of any situation, this to kind of fake the idea that he's going to go that way, which, by the way, this being 30 frames is ridiculous. This is so good for him. You see what I'm saying? Like he can kind of just switch up his options whenever he wants to. Like I said, he can get him whenever he wants to. The only downside to this character currently would probably be his assist, but if you're playing the correct assist, which I believe to be B assist, then you're eating, because this assist has a lot of pros going for it, okay? First one is that this bitch is 20 frames, okay? The second is obviously the block stun at 31 frames, much higher than normal assist. Normal strike assist are like 29 or like 25, stuff like that, but his is like a lot of block stun for what it's worth. It also has a lot of pushback, so for certain characters you can actually get certain setups. Android 21, for example, she gets her old 50-50 with cross up JH and just regular JH, because she's able to you know, use the block stun of this assist or the pushback to push them into the correct range for it. So depending on who you're playing with him, it can be beneficial for you. His A assist, on the other hand, oh, by the way, since it's a single hitting assist, if you have a character that can leave them standing, or you do like this, for example, and you can get like an IAD JL, that means that you can like instantaneously fuzzy them. So it's good for that reason as well. His other assist, A assist, is pretty decent. It's just a, you know, standard defensive assist. What you want to do with this is you kind of want to dash block plus use this. There are mind games, because you can kind of prevent the opponent from reflecting them if you do something like this, and you push them out of the block stun of it, so they reflect into nothing. Or you can just do a low in the middle of the assist block stun. That way you can check if they're trying to do a reflect animation. I will say that his C assist, while it's not the craziest assist, is pretty decent for a DP assist for a multitude of reasons. Because the first one is that it's a tracking DP assist, firstly, right? The second is that even though it has low block stun on the ground, if they decide to block this bitch in the air, that was just 40 frames. Look at this. And I'm taking them off jump. That was 54 frames of block stun, right? That means anyone can basically just run up and do this. Or if you're nice with it, you can just do this and go for a 50-50 from neutral interaction, right? And since it has so much hit stun, right, I can just wait all day and look at it, right? So yeah, there's a lot going for the C assist if you do decide to play it. It's not the wrong choice, but I would say that his A assist is probably the weakest assist out of the three. Outside of that, I believe that he's a very functional character when it comes to team building, because his teams, personally, I would play something like this where I have a fast assist and a lockdown assist, because having a mid-screen 50-50 that jails is pretty unique, simply because it's just not something that exists in the game outside of like RPS. Like you have to guess around the, you know, the 50-50, but he can just do this, right? Like that entire thing jailed, right? So yeah, I mean, totally strong character. I personally, I believe he's like top 5. I would say that his assists are holding him back from that top 3, top 2 position. But if played correctly, and this is where we kind of get into like the game aspect of it, if played correctly, he's probably the most untouchable character because he has the DP, he has a meterless DP, he has the LDP to deal with the interactions, he has, you know, just this to get out of the corner. For example, if I'm knocked down and I get the second jump here, I'm out of there, right? And then from there, I can do like this, call the assist, and then this is funny. So if I time this correctly, that'll happen, right? So I can basically get out of the corner and then call the assist behind it, and basically frame trap your jump, which is very unique to him. So outside of that, another thing I want to note about the character is that his 236L is pretty good in neutral because if you hold forward, you can get an automatic confirm. In the corner, it's even better because you can just do this, right? And this means that you don't have the landing recovery or put yourself above the opponent in the corner for them just to walk out of it. So for example, right, if I do the forward one, I'm above them and I'm -8 when I land, which is not a problem for him just because, I mean, if he gets ran out of, he can just do the 236H out of the corner again, like I said. But this one allows for RPS because he can just do this to check pretty much anything outside of like jumping JL. But again, it's really good for the character. I keep saying really, but I mean, just his character, he's busted. Another hint when playing this character is that your confirms are pretty much everything with this character. If you get something like this, for example, you can always do that. Like that's pretty much like a standard thing with him. Like no matter how you slice the confirms, you basically always get something like that with this character. You just have to be really good at timing stuff. Same goes for his 236S and his 5S. Like you can, if you ever get a random hit, always look to go for more with him because it's so easy to confirm. There's little to no risk when doing it, and the reward is very high, especially because he likes to tag characters in. And another thing I forgot, he's the only Vegeta that has mix without any requirement. So if I do this, for example, right, he gets this 50-50 that base Vegeta needs to do the grab and toss for. So he's the only Vegeta that has level 3 mix, and as a battery, he's, I think, the only character that has level 3 mix outside of Baby sometimes. When it comes to his level 3, which I think is really significant when you're building a team with him, because that's one less thing that you have to consider when playing the character or when playing a team. So for example, if I'm playing Kefla, she doesn't have level 3 mix. Okay, let me get Android 18, let me get Beerus, let me get someone with level 3 mix on the team. Whereas Super Saiyan Vegeta, he's here, he has the level 3, you don't have to worry about that on your team. You could still, like I said, you could still get a level 3 on your team, but that's just one less thing that you have to worry about. And that's why I believe that he's so flexible in team building. So gonna go out of the fourth wall here and kind of break it, because we're gonna talk about his synergies with teams on the character select screen. I believe that his strongest team has a fast assist on it and a beam. Okay, fast assist plus beam. The reason for this is because his 236S can get overwhelmed by beams in neutral. So if you can counter call a beam, either it's an assist or the point character does it, you can basically always punish that beam in some regard, right? So if you, and actually I'll just show this because this is actually a really teaching moment for players who don't know how to counter call assists correctly. So let me get these, and then let me get a character with a beam. Let's say this, let's say, who else got a beam in this bitch? Let's say Gohan, or let's say Goku, okay? Alright. So this is where it gets really tricky, because if you play good neutral, especially with your assist, right? And I'm gonna have Android 18 call her assist, right? And I'm actually I'm gonna just bring him out. Just fuck Goku, alright? Alright, so he does his beam, right? Let's say, all right, let's say this happens. Okay, let's say they clash, right? I need to time this correctly. This is annoying. Right, so let's say that clash happens, right? Goku can super dash. Don't get me wrong, he can super dash. However, the reward that Super Saiyan Vegeta gets for having this beam on his team means this. Right? That is a punish because he can't do anything about that, right? So once you've confirmed that beam has clashed, it's really, there's nothing much that the opponent can do outside of maybe call an assist behind that. But this is the type of commitment in the game that gets punished a lot just because you're like, oh, well, I was just kind of fucking around calling my assist or throwing a beam out. And it's like, damn, I didn't even have to correctly assess it. I just called the assist behind me. And now I'm reaping the benefits of it with this character because not many characters can actually punish as quickly as Super Saiyan Vegeta does. And like I said, the same thing happens on as an assist. So for example, if I call Android 18 B assist and I counter call that with an assist, well, that's an assist that I don't have to worry about anymore, which allows me to get this mind game going again, which allows me to freely just kind of throw this out or throw this one out and not have to worry about the repercussions, right? So once you've established that you have an assist to cancel that out, it allows the playing field to be equal, which is in his advantage. So that's pretty much why I believe that, you know, Super Saiyan Vegeta is top 5 in the game. Outside of his like synergies being kind of picky, I'll just talk about his synergies one more time. But overall, I think he's a very adequate character whose toolset is not overtuned, but it's just right to where he can make pretty much anything work. Cell C works really well with him because people like to up back a lot, which means that you can kind of establish that 2-2-6S game forcefully. And it also beats Super Dash, so even if you're not really good at, you know, calling LDP or doing LDP, you can just call that bitch, he'll do it for you. Blue Goku is another character that's really good with him. I know that he's typically played like mid, or excuse me, point, but he's a really good mid for Super Saiyan Vegeta, just because the tracking assist really kind of helps lock that side of the screen down. I would say that Android 18, her B assist is really good for him. You get the mid-screen mix that I talked about earlier with 2-6L and hold forward. And I would say that Ginyu is another contender for this. He's a weird one just because, like I said, it's a set play character. You tag him in, you do his offense with him. But he's not typically a character you see a lot because of how the game plan is supposed to go. You're supposed to play it like, I'm going to zone you until you mess up, and then now you're in a position where I can two-touch you regardless of what starter I got. So I would say Android 21 is really good with him. Nappa is really good with him. Recently I found a setup where you can kind of do like the air 2-2-6S into Nappa to get a Cyberman extension and go right into a restand. So if you're that type of player, really good. Surprisingly, Goku, UI Goku is really good with him too because his A assist it allows for the 50-50 I talked about earlier with the 2-3-6H in the air. We're just gonna call it H rocket kick, which I should have done a long time ago. But that assist is nuts for this character because it's so fast, and if he so happens to cross you up, like if he does 2-3-6H. And he just goes past your character and calls an assist behind, you're going to get hit because you weren't blocking correctly because of how fast that interaction happens. Same thing happens with Adult Gohan A, which I believe is also... He's like a half and half character just because you have to play a certain team with him where, you know, a character like Blue Goku gives him a knockdown or Jiren gives him a knockdown because the Big Bang attack from Vegeta isn't the greatest, but it's still a really solid super. Who else is really good with this character from what I played? Majin Buu C is really interesting. I tried that a couple times, and even though I'm not like a great Majin Buu player, I was still able to be like, hey, I'm getting stuff consistently with this character. Command grab characters are really good too because that means you can play like the C assist with Super Saiyan Vegeta and just rely on like tick throws and stuff like that. So yeah, overall I think he's a really I would say if I had to describe this character in 3 words, I would say zoning, is effective. Zoning is effective. That's what I'll say about this character. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed me just kind of like delving into my mind a little bit of why this character is so strong. Even though he doesn't have like the craziest toolkit, he still has a lot of promise when it comes to his overall game plan, how he plays in this meta, because I wouldn't consider him to be a meta character. He's not a typical character you see a lot of, but his reward off of pretty much every interaction he has, whether it be defensively, offensively, neutral wise, assist wise, I believe that he pretty much has everything covered around the board. So with that said, I appreciate you guys watching, and keep posted. I'm gonna try to crack on more videos about characters in the game. Trunks might be coming up next, you never know. I might cover Tien a little bit, even though I made a video about him. New stuff, you know, he got buffed, so yeah,